What is going on, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and dude, it's 4 a.m. I gotta stop recording stuff at 4 a.m. But I wanted to talk about the art of starting today, and I've got three things that hold us back from starting, and three of my personal tips to kind of overcome some of those things. Because I realize I talk a lot about finishing, right? I talk a lot about finishing a damn game and getting stuff out there and just, making it happen, but there are a lot of people that struggle with starting. And when I look back through my journals and stuff, and I think back in my memories, I realize I had a lot of trouble with starting, especially when, other people were involved, or when other people weren't involved, and I was just alone in my room, depressed, and I didn't want to do anything. So starting is a problem that a lot of us have, and I think there's a lot of newer people in the game industry, a lot of people that want to make games. I know a lot of people that follow me here on this channel have not actually started making a game yet. They want to make games, and they're following me because they want to get into it. They're kind of, dipping their toe in the water. They're following stuff, they're reading stuff, but they're not actually starting. So I want to talk a little bit about starting and, the things that hold us back and the things that you can do, to remedy it. So first, let's talk about the three things that hold people back from starting, in my opinion. There may be others, and if there are, leave them in comments below. I can't predict every possible thing, but in my opinion, three main things that stop people from starting. First one is overwhelm. They don't know where to start, right? Overwhelm, I think, is one of the biggest factors in starting, because in something like a video game where there's every interactive art known to, or every type of art known to mankind, and wrapped in an interactive experience, you got music, you got design, you got art, you got sound, you got, gameplay, levels, all this programming, all this stuff. Where do you start if you wanted to make a game? What on earth would you start with first? How do you possibly navigate this world of game development? So being overwhelmed it's one of the things we all go through. All of us went through it when we started game development. I still get overwhelmed regularly on stuff that I'm trying to do. Phylophobia is such a big project, man. It's such a big project. And I got 2 or 3 months. I know the feeling of overwhelm, trust me. But I haven't let it stop me from starting, at least not recently. I have in the early days. And when I did, it was just I would look at something. I would say, I don't know where to start. I have all this information. What do I do? And then I would be overwhelmed, so I wouldn't do anything. The way that I overcame overwhelm, specifically with game development, but it applies to pretty much anything on the planet, is just to ignore it. Just pick something and go. And my brain was always, super hyped on what's the most effective way to do it. What's the way, how do I do this perfectly? So it would usually keep me from picking a direction, because that direction might be subpar when I could pick a better direction. So it stopped me, which leads me to number 2, which is perfectionism. A lot of people don't start because they want to wait for the perfect time. They want to wait for the perfect moment. They want to wait till they got all their shit together. They want to wait till they got all the equipment. They want to research the most effective way to possibly start game development, and they want to follow that to a T. They want to start with this, then they want to move on to that, then they want to move on to that. And this perfectionism, this need for control, this need for knowledge and understanding, this struggle for, what's the word for it? I guess, efficiency, when it is a bad thing, because it can stop you from starting. What you should struggle for is effectiveness. And that, I'm getting in all Peter Drucker management books, but that concept is pretty important. Efficiency versus effectiveness. I used to be super obsessed with efficiency, but being efficient doesn't always mean that you're effective at something. In game development, when you're talking about starting and you're worried about being efficient, what's the most efficient way to start and navigate the world of game development? In reality, being effective is just picking something and going. That's how you're actually making progress. That's how you're being effective and moving forward and starting. But I think the third and final thing that holds people back from starting And this was definitely on my plate, and still is, to be honest. Like, It's fear. It's fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, fear of not being able, not believing in yourself and letting yourself down, letting down other people. Fear of what your friends might think, what your mom might say, what your siblings might say. And just fear of getting yourself into something that you may not be able to pull off. Fear holds us back from a lot of stuff. I have countless videos on this channel talking about fear because it's a really strong thing that holds us back. Fear stopped me for a very long time from making games, and I got to be completely honest. I made games before I started this channel, but I was terrified, man. Because making a channel about game development, like YouTube, posting videos about making video games, immediately the number one question was, Tim, what games have you made? And then that goes into my insecurity, right? Like, who am I to tell these people how to make games when my games are like not even that great? I don't even make that great of games. And then I would have to link to my games, and worry about what these guys think. What are they going to say? Are they going to unsubscribe from my channel? Are they going to, hate me? Are they going to laugh at me? There were so many different fears that went through my head, especially when I started going out public, with this stuff. And now that I have game releases, I'm blessed with a lovely community, but at the same time, there is a slight pressure there of like, holy shit, now all these guys are watching me. And I have this fear of like not being able to pull off something good, and have people reject it. And I think the Finish Friday streams have definitely helped out a lot with that. Making games live on stream 8 weeks in a row has definitely curbed some of my fears. Like I've really kind of toned down my fear in everything. It was facing my fear in a sense, because not only am I live streaming what I'm doing, for the world to see, but in all its glory, you guys are watching mistakes, you guys are watching mess ups, you guys are watching my horrible coding sometimes. There's nothing held back, and I think facing my fears in that sense has really helped me overcome that. So if you're struggling with fear, if you're scared of rejection, I know it sounds cliche and it sounds like the worst thing you can possibly do, but facing your fears, going for rejection, trying to accelerate that process is a good way to do it. In Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, he recommended this because I struggled with social anxiety for a while, and I read The 4-Hour Workweek, and one of the things that he said was, if you're worried about what people think you should go to like a busy place like a train station or something and lay down on the ground with people walking everywhere. Just lay down. Don't make any excuses. Don't do anything. Just lay down on the ground. Everybody's going to look at you. Everybody's going to give you an eye. But what you'll start to realize is two things. One, no one gives as much of a shit as you think they do. They're just like, oh, that's a weird guy on the floor. I got to make a phone call in 10 minutes. Oh, that's a weird guy on the floor. I got to get to where I'm going. No one really gives a shit, to be honest. And number two, it'll teach you that it's not that scary. This thing that you're terrified of being rejected by strangers or whatever is just not as scary as you're making it out to be. So whatever your fear is, facing it is definitely one of the best ways to overcome it. So beyond those three main struggles, I think there are a couple strategies that I have to get started on stuff. One of them has definitely been committing to something. And when I say committing, I don't just mean like setting a goal, right? Because most people just, they write a goal or whatever, and they're just like, I'm going to do this by this date. But most of the time what they end up doing is they say, I'm going to do this on Monday. I'm going to do this next week. And they never get to it. When I say committing, I mean tying it to an actual date where you have to show something, tying it to an event like PAX, tying it to a game jam coming up like Ludum Dare, right? That's happening soon. Tying it to something, committing out there, to a thing, and then making that thing happen, carrying through with it, having the discipline to carry through with it. Number two, which kind of relates to the first point, but getting people involved always helped me. there was a lot of fear involved with the community and what you guys might think of my games, for sure. But it also had the opposite effect. It had the effect of, now when I say something in front of all you guys, I can't be a liar. Because I commit to something in front of people now, I have to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to look stupid. You know, I have people watching me now. So committing in public, either whether it's friends or family or, you know, your peer group or whatever, make sure they're supportive people. That's an important point because, you know, we all have someone in our life that's just not supportive and they'll make fun of your commitments or, you know, laugh at them or something. Don't do that if you have unsupportive people. But if you have supportive people committing in public, even on the GDU Discord or something like that, you know, it's a great tool that I've used to commit to stuff and make myself, you know, light a fire under my ass and make me get stuff done. And the third final thing that I've done before that has worked for me is to put something on the line. Put something that you don't want to lose on the line. You know, put up money that give your friend $100 or $1,000 or whatever you can afford, whatever level you're on financially, something that'll hurt to lose, and tell them to donate it to a charity that you hate if you don't carry through, right? Something like that. Set up a situation where you'll lose something if you don't carry through. Putting something on the line is really effective, and and a lot of times this kind of ties into point number one, committing to something or getting people involved. But putting something on the line for me, a lot of times has been reputation. If I go out there and I say something, if I say I'm going to do something, or I say next Friday we're going to do this, or, you know, I'm going to write an email once a week or whatever it is, when I say that, I'm putting my reputation on the line. Not only am I getting people involved, but I'm putting my reputation on the line, and I'm saying, like, you know, if I don't pull this off, I'm going to lose reputation points or imaginary, whatever the hell that is, right? Like, so just think in terms of that stuff. In closing thoughts, I would just say if you were on the fence about starting, you just got to pull a Nike and just do it. There's no easy way. There's no way around it. There's no magical chemical formula that you can drink. There's no article that you can read. Nothing's going to get you there outside of yourself. And if you have a pattern of not starting, then your body wants to reinforce that pattern of not starting. So you end up in this ever loop of not starting. You have to break that pattern. You have to break it into pieces and, you know, get out of it. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you found it, liked it, you know, commented on it, subscribed, all that. I'm not very good at the YouTube stuff, but just do all the shit, please. If you've got other suggestions for other people part of the community on how to get started on stuff, leave them down below. I'm sure we all love to discuss it. But once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I will see you tomorrow.